Chapter 1. Saturday, January 12, 2008, Phoenix, Arizona. It was such a delicious night. Joya Bonner was so happy she'd been so naughty. She shouldn't be here, with a satisfied smile on her face, sitting at the intersection of Central and McDowell in Phoenix, Arizona at 4 a.m. But she was avoiding a daylight walk of shame from the bed of a man she shouldn't be with. So here she was, the top down on her Mustang convertible on this balmy January morning in the Valley of the Sun. She'd be sure to brag about that on her weekly call home to the folks in Northville, North Dakota. They were socked in, months of snow, sleet, freezing, snow, blizzards, snow, while Phoenix was basking in warm weather that was the envy of the nation. Joya had waited at this light thousands of times on her way home to one of Phoenix's historic neighborhoods, aberrations in a city so new, old was measured in decades, not centuries. It had taken a long time and a mayor named Terry Goddard before anyone thought that preservation meant anything. By then, the elegant Victorian mansions that stood like sentinels along Central were all replaced with steel and glass high-rises. The charming Palms Theater on Central, the best popcorn Joya ever tasted, would ever taste, hadn't stood a chance, of course. Durant still stood only because the movers and shakers of Phoenix loved their steaks, which were becoming increasingly too expensive for ordinary folk. But a few pockets of older homes, Joya's was built in the 30s, still stood. Encanto, Alvarado, Palmcroft. Their residents fought hard to earn historic preservation status, and they guarded it like a mama tiger guards her cubs. If she'd been paying attention this dark morning, she'd have looked in the rearview mirror at the magnificent Burton Bar Public Library behind her, a point of pride for both the city and architect Will Bruder. If she'd looked ahead, the new Phoenix Art Museum would have made her smile. Director Jim Ballinger had delivered on his promise to build an artistic gem. Any other day, she'd be checking out the growing pile of political signs posted in the vacant lot on the west side of Central, a mishmash of vote for me, please. All sizes, all shapes, more Republican than Democrat in this red state. The primary races were heating up, and this fall's general election promised to be something else. She was leaning toward Hillary, but this hope and change Obama sounded good too. Joya thought it was absurd that Arizona's own integrity we can trust John McCain thought he could get the Republican nomination. She'd interviewed McCain over the years and had never been impressed. She bet Believe in America Mitt Romney was a more likely Republican standard-bearer. Then again, comedian Stephen Colbert had thrown his hat in the ring, and he'd spice things up. If she looked, she'd see the re-elect Sheriff Arpaio posters already appeared old. She wondered if after 16 years in office, the toughest sheriff in America left them up permanently. Those, of course, were the ground signs, like a garden of underbrush beneath billboards, where the real money was spent. Those bad boys blared out messages and letters taller than a grown man. These days, they marveled everyone with messages that had Phoenix giddy. Super Bowl 42 was coming to town next month, New York Giants versus New England Patriots, and everyone knew when you had both Eli Manning and Tom Brady on the same field, you had the Golden Geese. If that weren't enough, they were playing the same Sunday the Phoenix Open culminated the greatest show on grass, two of sport's biggest events, and that meant thousands of visitors and tons of money. The Chamber of Commerce was wetting itself in joy. The Arizona Republic devoted so much space you'd have thought this was the second coming. Television reporters were delirious cheerleaders. Joya had no clue what ugliness these events also brought to town, or the hideous handmaiden that was born right here in Phoenix. She wasn't alone. Few were aware of that repulsive underbelly, either in Arizona or anywhere else these big events landed. Nobody from the chamber ever bragged about this dirty secret. Newspapers and television stayed just as silent, so it was no wonder the public didn't know the hideous truth.